Hello and welcome back to the Pauper Premier League. I'm Alex Ullman. I'm here with Joseph Arani. Joseph, that was a tough match to watch from your perspective, huh?
Yeah, it was kind of rough. I didn't really draw too many Mulldrifters and Ephemerates, and those are pretty good against control.
Yeah, we had Charles, also known as Burman, going off in the chat, basically saying the chance of you seeing one Mulldrifter until basically your last turn of the match is really low. But tell me a little bit how that deck is supposed to work.
Well, ideally, you play like turn 2 Familiar, and then turn 3 you untap and play all 4 of your Explorers, and then get some bounce lands, go crazy.
Okay, let's talk about an average case scenario.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, you're just basically trying to set up like Ephemerate combos to get a bunch of value, play like some Explorers and some Familiars, and get some mana that way. And then just sort of Ephemerate stuff, and if your opponent's like doing things that are hard to ignore, you can put those things on top of their deck. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you get into a spot where you can Archaeomancer and get back the Temporal Spring or the Ephemerate, and then Temporal Spring their thing, Ephemerate the Archaeomancer, and then basically you can do that every turn, and they never get to draw another card, provided they're out of ways to draw cards outside of their draw step.
Okay. And so this is kind of one of those traditional, we've seen it before with Ghostly Flicker Chittering Rats. I think there was a deck that used Temporal Spring and in Rover Horror a couple months ago that kind of be a mana denial strategy. But I want to talk a little bit more about the familiars. You are kind of the familiar guy.
Yeah.
But these are not cards that are all over Pauper. They get played a lot in the combo decks, familiar decks, and they get played in the decks you got like to brew. But why do you think it is that more people haven't picked up the familiars?
I'm really not sure. I know there's like Time. I think he's a Japanese player. We follow each other on Twitter, and I know he likes to play with familiars a lot. So I love seeing his deck list. But
I think their name is TIEM_TIEM, and they always have the weirdest decks with mana bases that you just I can never understand how they work, because it's like 12 colorless lands and 4 colors.
Yeah, no, I love their decks. They're always crazy. They do a bunch of stuff that like I would just never do. But like reasons why people don't play the familiars, like in a lot of ways it is kind of like a worse Tron. Like it's just like Tron where like you just jump through like different deck building requirements and get like different benefits and drawbacks, and it's probably a little bit worse than Tron. I don't know.
So it sounds like we're about to go watch the guy who just played you, Evan, take on Chris Van Meter on Elves. So let's get down to the match. So
alrighty.
Chris is still live for the playoffs. He needs to go 2-1 to we're a little delay, but Chris needs to go 2-1 to basically be assured a spot in the playoffs. Depending on how many people make it, that should be enough. But Evan is kind of playing Dream Crusher here, so let's see what we have going on.
Okay, so Evan's on the play. That's really important here because that's going to let him counterspell this Winding Way that Chris has drawn, which is going to be pretty good here.
Yeah, so let's see, what are the hands? Screen's so great. Looks like we got... Chris has kind of that traditional elf start with Mana Dork. Oh, he has the Priest of Titania.
Okay. Yeah, the Priest is probably going to come down on turn 2 next to the Nettle Sentinel. I guess Chris is going to have to decide between doing that and casting Winding Way this turn. And Evan's going to have a counterspell up for whichever he chooses.
I like this play from Chris. He's leading with his 1-drop to try and bait. And if this does get countered, yeah, he can just slam Priest and have just a ton of mana next turn. Given Evan's hand, I don't hate that, but, Evan's been playing Magic a long time. Whoa, that's a good Skred right there.
That is a pretty good Skred. Let's see if he uses it. He's going to decide to hold up the counterspell and potentially Skred something later, which I kind of like that play. I think it's pretty good. What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Look what's going to happen here. Here, Evan is probably going to be able to counter this Winding Way. Chris is going to be able to play out basically his entire hand, but that's it. Then he's left kind of ripping off the top.
Yeah, this definitely, the cards are lining up here in a pretty good way for Evan, it looks like. He's able to shut down CVM from drawing any extra cards, which is really where the Elves can get its Ws.
So there's a couple funny things here. One, I think Chris misplayed that. I think he should have tapped the two elves for his two elves in hand. That would have given him 4 elves to then play out the Huntmaster. It would have meant less. Oh, this is interesting. Evan drew the Mystic Remora and played it. Chris drew one of the few non-creature spells left in his deck in Lead the Stampede. What do you think?
I think that was a really good draw for Chris Van Meter, even though it's going into Evan's Remora, which was obviously a pretty bad draw for Evan. That's just pretty much the most powerful card in his deck at this point. The Lead the Stampede is.
I mean, if it's a 5-for-1, it's a 5-for-1. He's not going for it.
He's not going for it? He's really going to play around the Remora? Okay, so I guess Chris is just saying, well, I've got 4 power in play. You have to answer it, and I'm going to hit you in the face for 2 points.
That's going to come back and bite him, because look what Evan just drew. He drew 2 removal spells and the mana to cast them.
So what is he going to do?
I think you have to put back the 2 and just take out the priest and something else. I mean, take out the mana. Haha, dead elf. That, you bolt the bird, you kill the mana elf, you do whatever you can. And right now, not going for Lead the Stampede looks like it might bite Chris pretty hard, although he does rip another priest. But I think you still have to go lead with lead here, right?
I would be inclined to agree, but Chris looks like he's probably not going to play the lead here. He's decided to attack with the 2 Llanowar Elves instead. And I really like that Evan held this Skred in hand. It's going to let him answer the priest if he decides to, which he's going to wait. He doesn't want to make that decision yet.
Looks like Evan might have F6'd by accident because he just bypassed the chance to use the priest on end step. Skred the priest on end step.
I mean, I think it was a reasonable play. I guess he's not really seeing any new cards here.
Oh, wow. This is pretty huge for Chris. Another priest. So now things could get gross pretty quickly.
And it looks like CVM, if he wants, he can even just pay for the Remora. So,
that's probably what he was doing.
He agrees.
He was just waiting to pay for the Remora.
Yeah. He's ready to jam it now. Now that he can pay for the Remora, he feels a lot more comfortable doing this. I think
he lets Evan get the draw.
Okay, that's interesting. It's not completely unreasonable.
3 cards, all of which are pretty good, actually. He's going to make a ton of elves this turn. But that's about it. I mean, at the same point, Evan's kind of ripping off the top. He doesn't have... Okay, Evan is deciding that Chris already has all the mana he could ever want, so forget about that. Let's keep your elf army contained. So by taking out the Huntmaster, it kind of limits the amount of damage that Chris can do with something like Timberwatch Elf.
I think that's a heads-up play. I think that's probably where Evan wants to be here, is sort of removing the payoff cards. Like, Chris has a big stack of enablers here, but what's really going to turn those enablers into a win is cards like Timberwatch Elf.
Well-Wisher is going to do a decent job of putting the game out of reach because that Custody Squire can't really grab anything yet. Like, it's probably going to end up grabbing Mystic Remora at some point.
The Custodi Squire is not great here. He might be able to, turn this Seeker into some dead creature and then get it back that way. But as it stands, the Seeker's actually not bad here, able to hold off a whole bunch of 1/1s.
It just can't attack otherwise. Oh, that is not a great draw. So a land off the top for Evan means at most he can Remora get back, make a 3/3 flyer, get back Mystic Remora, but none of that's very exciting.
Yeah, that does not really do much here. It does pump the Seeker. The Seeker's going in, which pretty peculiar here. I guess he's fishing for a block would be pretty good for him. He could get back the Seeker, but CVM doesn't bite.
Yeah, I like the attack from Evan. It bluffs removal. And yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's going to get back Remora, play Remora, and hope that, because I actually don't hate this play, because the best card for Chris to draw right now is a Lead the Stampede or Winding Way. And if he gets that, he's going to get a card back out of it.
Yeah, the thing is that CVM is just so far ahead on board. Like, it none of this really matters. CVM can kind of just turn all his creatures sideways and win the game.
Well, this is going to make it a lot harder for Evan to win the game. Quirion Ranger and Well-Wisher is just a disgusting amount of life.
Yeah, he's going to basically be at infinity life now.
I'm checking Evan's sideboard to see. Yeah, he has 2 copies of Electrickery. So we have some time before we actually get to game 2, but ripping a land is not a way to get to game. It's not a way to win game 1.
Yeah, this is looking pretty grim for Evan here, for our blue deck hero.
Okay, let's see what's coming off the top for Chris. Chris is doing the right thing. He's going to gain as much life as possible. I mean, really the best draw for Chris is, does he have it? Does he run the Wild Heart Invoker? No. He's all in on Timberwatch Elf. That's what he needs here, is a Timberwatch Elf.
Yeah, Chris is looking for a Timberwatch Elf and cards that draw Timberwatch Elf, and maybe like the middle hit would be another copy of Lys Alana Huntmaster.
Huntmaster isn't as good right now because it requires other elves to go wide enough.
Yeah.
But I think the saving grace here would be absolutely a Timberwatch Elf. There's a player, I think it might be Sia's for Cookie. They run Wildheart Invoker, which is a great way to turn this mana surplus into extra damage. That's a Rise of Eldrazi common where you can pay 8 colorless to give a creature, I think it's +5/+5 in trample. It is an elf. But Evan is just drawing every land, and it's at this point, at Winding Way, Lead the Stampede, it's just going to hopefully draw, like from Chris's perspective, hopefully draw him a ton of cards. But this is kind of how elves can prolong the game, right? They just gain gobs of life and try to put themselves out of reach. Oh,
yeah. There's the Timberwatch Elf. That's going to be a pretty good draw here for Chris. That is the sort of one golden card that we were talking about earlier. And Evan's going to need to find an answer soon. Immediately,
well, Evan has outs. He has Archaeomancers. He has Lightning Bolt. Yeah. But drawing the land, Evan has just drawn, I think he's drawn land 4 turns in a row. Well, he drew 4 out of 5 turns he drew land.
I believe he should just be dead here.
He is, yeah. What will happen is Chris will attack with the team or with enough to get by blockers. Whichever ones don't get blocked, you get double pumped by Timberwatch Elf, and there are more than 7 elves on board. So this is, we're going to game 2.
There's a lot of elves.
Sorry about that. Thought I hit mute. So what do you have? If we could take a look at the deck lists, what does?
Excuse me.
Yeah. What do you think Evan is going to try to do here? I think he has to bring the Electrickeries.
Electrickery is definitely going to be his best card here. Let's see what else he's got. He's got
Swirling Sandstorm.
Swirling Sandstorm is going to be another sort of Electrickery tier card. It's going to be very powerful.
Yeah. But on the other side of things, Chris gets to bring in Spider Silk Armor. He gets to bring in Viridian Longbow potentially. Chris is already making moves. He's bringing in the armors.
Okay.
Makes sense. I think you want to bring in the Rapid Vigor also if you know that, because Evan has already brought in the Sandstorm. He's bringing in Oblivion Ring. He took out the Remoras. Looks like he took out Custody Squire.
CVM is going to bring in cards that are good against Evan's hate cards, and Evan is just bringing in the hate cards, it looks like.
Yeah. Something of note is that Chris cut the Well-Wishers. So we're not going to see him gain all that life. He also cut a Lead the Stampede, which is interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, it makes sense, but Lead the Stampede is pretty good. It does let you come back from board wipes pretty easily, but we're getting back to game 2. So let's see what's in their openers.
I think maybe part of his reasoning is that he's bringing in a lot of non-creature spells, and Lead the Stampede is going to be a little bit weaker.
Well, Evan looked like he was on a mulligan, but this is a good hand from Chris. It's the kind of hand you want when you're elves with turn 2 Spider Silk Armor.
Yeah, he's got turn 2 Spider Silk Armor with a Priest and a Well-Wisher to back it up. Looks like he kept in maybe 1 in Well-Wisher.
Evan, though, mulligan to 5.
Ooh, that is... it's not a great 5 cards. He's going to need the Brainstorm to do some work to really fix him into a playable hand.
I mean, he has to Brainstorm and see land, which he does.
Okay.
Actually, that's a great Brainstorm because he gets to put back 2 dead cards, keep Skred.
Yeah, I like keeping the Skred. He just has now a bit of interaction. He's got the Mulldrifter to reload his hand when he needs to. Where CVM is just going to be developing the Spider Silk Armor this turn. He drew the Winding Way and a Birchlore, which is pretty good draws for him.
If you're Evan and you see the Spider Silk, do you Skred here? You have the Remove Soul ready to go.
I don't think I would
I'd be
Skred
tempted.
Here.
I'd be tempted, but I think you're right. I think you don't Skred. I think you can leave up Remove Soul and Skred next turn.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, but I think that if you're Chris, you realize how much time Evan took to make that decision. And so I think, I think Chris knows something is going to happen. Leaving up 1 red mana is a pretty big tell.
Yeah, what do you think about the Seeker play here? Because I almost want to have just maybe held up the Remove Soul to fight against a potential Timberwatch.
Skred still is good enough to take out the Timberwatch at this point, so I don't hate it.
Okay, yeah.
What I do like is that Chris is playing out the less impactful elves early. He's making that he's forcing Evan to make a decision about that Skred. Oh, no. Here comes the Priest, which is going to be met with the Skred.
Yeah, so it looks like the Skred's likely going to come down on the Priest.
Yeah.
It's actually going on the Well-Wisher. That's pretty interesting.
Well, Evan was rewarded by drawing Flame Slash.
But the thing is that Chris still has this Winding Way, and if it hits at all decently, 2 or 3 creatures, Chris is going to be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, so I think that one thing I've learned by playing against elves a lot, because elves is very popular and it has these really interesting decision points where there are a ton of creatures you want to try and kill. Depending on the turn, you might want to kill a Quirion Ranger or a Priest of Titania or a Well-Wisher or a Lys Alana Huntmaster or a Timberwatch Elf or an Elvish Vanguard. And those decision points change dramatically based upon the game state, but also what's in your hand, what's in your opponent's hand. I think Evan saw himself as the beatdown because of the Seeker of the Way and decided that this is how he's going to win the game. It's through combat damage. I cannot let a Well-Wisher survive.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I agree.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree either. I feel like with the Ephemerate engine in your deck, you can beat a lot of life points.
more than that, I think that given the fact that Evan was so far down on cards this game, you have to choke the elves on where it has the advantage, which is mana. Now, granted, he was bailed out by the Flame Slash, but Chris is pretty far ahead. He's going to get a Timberwatch Elf and potentially a 2/2 Vanguard next turn, and that's before he draws anything. That lightning bolt is looking pretty good, though.
That bolt is going to be pretty good, able to take out the Timberwatch next turn. But we saw the Winding Way last turn, and it didn't actually hit that much. It hit 1 or 2 creatures, but now Chris Van Meter is actually out of cards here, and Evan might be able to stabilize.
That Electricity looks pretty bad, though.
That is a poorly timed Electricity, for sure. Let's see how this goes down. Evan could actually play the Skyfisher here. I wouldn't hate it. I think it's kind of just a good play to the board here.
No, I think you play Skyfisher and leave up, you return an island, play it again, leave up 2 blue, bluff Counterspell. But
I kind of like returning the mountain. I don't know.
Why do you like returning mountain?
Well, he can block and Electricity. It probably won't happen because Chris probably won't attack.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know.
Fair.
It's just maybe against what is that card? Savage Swipe? That's probably not in his deck, but
no, Chris doesn't run Savage Swipe. But you know what? Chris is at he's going to be at potentially 6 life after this attack. So I wonder if Evan brainstorms, that's 5 damage. Depending on what he sees.
Oh, this Electricity might be getting a little bit better here.
Yeah. Let's see. Electricity is going to take out 2 of those for sure. That's one of the things about Spire Cycle Armor. All your creatures have reach.
Yeah, it looks like Evan might not have fully read the card here. I've definitely forgotten about it before.
Oh man, the number of times I've attacked 1/1 flyers into 1/2 elves is a non-zero amount of times.
It's brutal. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, this was actually a pretty good brainstorm for Evan. Because
it was pretty good. I would have liked to see him use it pre-combat, though, just to be able to potentially get some extra prowess triggers here.
Well, he's going to miss out on 1 prowess trigger from potentially the Astrolabe, but he's going to take out... He's only going to be taking out 1 elf here.
It is the good elf.
It is the good elf.
So it is going to leave Chris without much going on, but Evan also doesn't have much going on. So
Evan
we'll see who can draw a good card first.
Evan's next draw is going to be Archaeomancer, so he's going to get back a ton of stuff. But that Winding Way could be huge.
Oh, yeah, Winding Way is definitely a hit here.
And it hits 4 cards. But you know what? I'm not sure those 4 cards matter.
He's got the Timberwatch, but the Timberwatch can get answered by the Archaeomancer.
Yeah, that's the big thing. When Archaeomancer comes back, let's see, how much mana does Chris have access to this turn?
Chris, I think he has easily enough mana to play all his cards, right?
Yeah, but I think he's making the right play. He's playing the Morphs face down, which is the right, which I think is the right call.
Interesting.
It means that you have a better creature. It hurts you in the long run, but you only need 1 Birchlore Ranger to be active for them to do their job. And it might be, Chris is deciding that he needs to stack block to get this Seeker off the board. Because it's Chris is at 7. That's not a lot, especially against the deck with Lightning Bolt.
So what do you get back if you're Evan next turn? Do you just play the Archaeomancer and get back like a Preordain and try to just dig to Ephemerate?
So pretending that I don't know that Chris has a Timberwatch in hand, I'd be really tempted to get Preordain, but I don't know if getting I'd also be tempted to get the Skred. Skred is just such a good card. At the same point, I'm pretty far ahead if I Preordain into anything good. So I think, I mean, it'd be tough for me not to take Skred, but I think Preordain's the right play, given the board.
Taking Skred definitely feels a little bit safer. It's like, it's harder for you to lose when you take Skred.
So we'll see. Looks like he's going to take Skred.
He's going to take Skred here?
I mean, he left the red up. That doesn't mean anything because you have Astrolabe.
Right. Yeah, no, so he does pick up the Skred. And let's hope he saves it. Which he probably will. No attacks here, I think, is a good call from Evan.
Yeah, but now Chris knows about the Skred, so he won't play that Timberwatch. You know what the thing is? The Timberwatch was revealed off of Winding Way. So of course Evan has to get the Skred.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what happens when you try to play Magic at, way past your bedtime.
Yeah.
One more draft, one more draft, one more league. I'm fine. Like 10 play points, 10 ticks later, you're just like, why did I do that to myself? So this is really coming down to top decks. Looks like Chris did side out the Lead the Stampede, so he has a few more cards left. He has just a few ways to draw a ton of cards. And Chris is playing the Timberwatch Elf into the Skred. Interesting.
So he is just going to try to basically draw another Timberwatch and keep committing threats to the board so he can be ahead, attack with his 2/3 reach, and get some damage in.
But Evan drew a second Skred.
Second Skred's pretty good here. It's going to basically deal with the next Timberwatch that Chris draws. So Evan's going to be able to stay alive a bit longer.
Chris really needs to find a Lead the Stampede or Winding Way. That's really what he's looking for.
He's trying to draw as many copies of Lead the Stampede and Winding Way as he possibly can. Excuse me.
So I think Chris is debating a block here. He knows about the... I don't think you can risk a block here.
The block here, let's see. He could block with like everything, but he would get super blown out.
He'd get blown out with the Skred, yeah.
Looks like he might do it. He's blocking with everything except for one, so he's maybe trying to bait the Skred that he knows about.
But this next Skred is going to be just a blowout because it will take out...
Insanely blown out. Evan can Skred both of the non-attacking creatures and then basically kill two of the blocking creatures, for free.
No, you take out Timberwatch, you take out any blocking creature.
Yeah.
And that is 3 power against 4 power.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah. And what ends up happening is Evan is left with a Seeker of the Way and Archaeomancer. Chris has a face-down Birchlore Ranger and an elf, probably an Elvish Mystic, yeah.
As far as stats go, technically Chris is favored.
But now both players are basically empty-handed.
Yeah. Which definitely should favor Evan. He has a lot more powerful draws in his deck.
Quirion Ranger is going to help turn that Birchlore Ranger vigilant, but that's really not exciting. Kor Skyfisher?
Kor Skyfisher is a great draw here. It's going to let Evan draw an extra card or potentially get an extra Archaeomancer activation.
I think you want the card here.
Yeah, the card is just cheaper. It gets going immediately, spends your mana.
And I think Evan's going to win this on a mulligan to 5.
Wow. Counterspell off the top is just almost going to seal the deal.
Yeah, there's nothing Chris can really do here. Chris can attack. Evan can attack, but Evan's playing it patiently.
Yeah, and Evan's attacks aren't even that good. They really just give, Chris's attacks aren't really that good. They just give Evan options as to whether he wants to do any multi-blocks. So we're going to see Chris choose to not attack here.
Another Electrickery, which, again, is okay, but not great here.
It makes the Ephemerate super insane. If he ever draws Ephemerate, he gets to kill all the 1/2 elves. But Ephemerate was already a win. Let's see here. So Evan is attacking now. He's got the Electrickery to make some blocks or make some some damage.
This Electrickery is going to be pretty harsh.
What's it going to do here? It's going to do 1 damage to each of the blockers, make the Seeker into a 3/3.
Yeah. So that's 2. He's going to take out 2 blockers, gain life, and really, with this Counterspell backup, there isn't much Chris can do to stay alive.
Yeah, none of Chris's draws are really good in the face of a Counterspell. Certainly not this one that wants him to have a bunch of creatures out. And it looks like Evan has got the game locked up.
Yeah, we're going to game 3 in all likelihood, which, probably favors Chris because he'll be on the play, but I don't know.
Being on the play in these type of matchups is really important. Counterspell on the draw is a much weaker card than Counterspell on the play.
Yeah. But even being on the draw, Evan can still has tons of 1-mana removal spells. Electrickery might have that overload cost, but you can still pick off an elf on turn 1.
Yeah. And Evan just draws another land, so he's not quite getting the
he can attack.
Lock. But yeah, he is. Yeah, he can't attack, so technically it's even on board here.
Chris is just drawing every land in his deck. I think Elves runs 12 lands. He's drawn 8 of them.
Which is going to be pretty good for Evan, but he's also drawing a lot of lands, though his deck plays many more lands than Chris's.
We might have spoke too soon. This game is going a little while.
Yeah, I think that set of draws there from both players, it does give Chris a bit of a window here.
Evan drew the Skred, playing it patiently. As Chris draws more elves, I think he's trying to play around too much removal. Skyfisher's pretty good here.
Yeah, Skyfisher is a great draw here. This might actually be the spot to pick up Archaeomancer, but he is just going to decide to pick up the Astrolabe and replay it, hoping to draw an Ephemerate would be probably the best draw in his deck. Preordain is
very good
draw. And we'll see if... Wow, so he breaks off on the Preordain. We'll see if Chris can put something together. He's going to need to top deck like multiple Lead the Stampedes and or Timberwatches.
So this is actually going to benefit Chris because what Evan's doing, he's attacking. He's going to try to Skred. Chris is then going to probably Rapid Vigor, which Evan is probably going to feel compelled to counter, which will strand Evan with no cards in hand.
Yeah, so Evan is getting a little bit jebaited here.
He's going for it. I don't think you go for that counter. I think you let it happen. And now a Lead the Stampede from Chris completely changes the texture of this game.
So Evan's got the shields down. I think Chris is actually favored from this position now.
So Lys Alana Huntmaster is going to make 2 elves, both of which will be 1/2s with reach. And then every other elf thereafter is going to be... I think this game just turned.
Yeah, it looks like Chris is actually just winning now. He's got a 3/4 reach blocker. which is super good in the face of a couple 2/3 flyers. And he's got about 1,000,000 1/2s.
Yeah, but Evan has a ton of live draws. Ephemerate, Mulldrifter, these are huge live draws.
That is true. If he ever draws an Ephemerate, the game is just about over. It can get him back from a lot of bad spots here.
That island, though, is not an Ephemerate.
Yeah, that basic island is really rubbing it in Evan's face here. And the Priest is going to come down, make 2 1/2s, and Chris is not able to start attacking yet. So
Evan with another land.
Evan keeps drawing lands, but it looks like he's able to at least put up a solid defense and not be getting attacked yet.
Has Evan drawn every... We are seeing both players draw a ton of land this match.
Yeah, this is definitely the landlord game.
So I don't think Evan has any basics left in his deck. I'm just going to do a quick check. Elvish Vanguard is a huge draw right now.
Yeah, so Elvish Vanguard is a pretty good draw here.
Evan has exactly one basic... I believe he has one snow-covered island left in his deck. I think he has a few more Ash Barrens, but that's it.
Okay, so Evan draws a counterspell. That's going to be pretty decent here because Chris is still not attacking. Chris draws another land, and this counterspell is going to sort of give Evan a little bit of buffer. And there's a Mulldrifter off
There's
the
a
top.
Mulldrifter.
Oh, I love to see that. And let's see. He's just going to hardcast it.
Of
Great
course.
play. Best play possible. And there's another Mulldrifter. Wow. Here it comes.
And an Ephemerate.
So I think Evan kind of just wins now, right?
Probably.
He gets a bolt too, so he can bolt well,
you have Ephemerate. No, you bolt, you get the Ephemerate coming back, and then you pick up bolt and bolt again. You have it.
Oh yeah, you just 6 him.
Yeah,
that's way better.
Yeah.
So okay, don't play the Seeker. I feel like Evan has played some questionable Seeker of the ways tonight, and this one would be the one that could be the nail in the coffin.
No, the Seeker would be fine.
I don't know. I feel like there's no reason to play the Seeker, but I don't know. Let's see. So the Birchlore Ranger off the top is going to make a 1/1, 1/2 rather. Skred's going to come down on the Lys Alana.
Let's hope Evan sees the line.
Yeah. Let's see. He I don't know. He has the bolt. And there's no way for CVM to gain life here. Yeah, it looks like he sees it. I think I saw him mouse over the board.
So bolt, Ephemerate back, bolt. You know, it's almost like bolt, Snapcaster, bolt, only the bolt doesn't get exiled.
Yeah.
It sticks around.
It's classic.
And we're going to 3.
He's
game
flicking
3.
the Mulldrifter.
He's flickering Mulldrifter? He's going for the Mulldrifter. Is he just hoping to draw?
Yeah, I don't know about this. I guess maybe he didn't see the line. Okay, CVM saw the line.
Yeah, so I think what might have happened might have been reflex. So what's actually going to happen is, because they're so low on time, we're going to remake the match. They're going to play game 3 separately. I think, we all know what was supposed to happen there. Chris saw it. He knew he was dead. So we're just going to remake the match real quick. But that was it's not that ripping lands is exciting, but when both players are ripping lands and Chris is clawing his way back into the game, like there was definitely a few turns there where if Chris draws a Winding Way, a Lead the Stampede, everything in that game changes.
Yeah, that was definitely a very exciting game we saw there, Alex. I loved the just the grindy nature. That's what Pauper is all about, is like the back and forth game where players are fighting for these small edges, and it's just these 1/2s blocking other 1/2s, and
It was, you were fighting for the small edges, but the edges you were fighting for were the haymakers. You're fighting for Mulldrifter. You're fighting to resolve a Winding Way or Lead the Stampede, and those aren't small edges by any stretch of the means. They are pretty significant edges. Drawing a Mulldrifter into Ephemerate was one of the best possible things you could do. I don't know how I feel about Chris not having that fourth Lead the Stampede in right now. It feels pretty good on the play.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. It seems like one of the best cards in his deck, especially, and on the play, like, you really just want all the cards that you build up boards.
If Kendra's in the chat, I want her opinion on this.
Yeah, Kendra, what do you think about this?
These are good hands from both players. I think if you're Chris, you keep that. I think Evan, keeps it also. And you know what? Chris is going to have turn 2 Spider Silk Armor. Unless... Well,
you can have Evan... Spider Silk Armor with the Quirion Ranger here.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful.
Evan drew a mountain for the Skred, but opted not to play it. Oh, that's a huge draw. Nettle Sentinel and Birchlore Rangers means you get a ton of mana fast. So we're going to see Chris just explode his hand right here. He's going to put a ton of power and toughness onto the board very quickly. And I'm interested to see what happens next.
Yeah, I definitely don't know how it's going to go down with the Nettle Sentinel plus Birchlore Rangers. Some pretty tricky math. It looks like CVM is taking a second to do the math here.
I think you have to play Spider Silk Armor so you don't get Electricaried, and then you do everything else next turn. But Chris is taking...
Yeah, I mean, because can he still play it? He can still play it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's a good play.
I missed that line.
So here comes the Skyfisher. That's a pretty good draw. It's going to let him develop a 2/3 brick wall, these 1/2s. He's actually going to go for the Skred on the Quirion Ranger here. Interesting. I actually kind of like this play.
No, it's a good play. Early enough, you want to take out things like Quirion Ranger, which is making 2 mana. Actually, it's making 3 mana thanks to the Forest and the that's a Fyndhorn Elf. The unfortunate thing is that Evan doesn't know that Chris has 2 huge payoffs in hand, and that's a third one.
So let's see what he decides to go for here. He's going to lead with the Elvish Vanguard.
Yeah, I like this play.
Presumably go for the Nettle Sentinel afterwards.
I like this play. You get a 2/3 Vanguard. You get a 2/3 Nettle Sentinel on the board. You have 2 Haymakers in hand. You're putting the pressure on Evan to draw an answer, which I think, if you're Evan, I think you have to Skyfisher.
Skyfisher would put up a blocker to deal with these 2/3s and the 1/2, but the thing is that the Elvish Vanguard is going to grow pretty quickly here if CVM gets at all reasonable hits off his card draws.
That was one of the best possible cards Chris could have drawn. Quirion Ranger plus Winding Way is going to generate a ton of mana, a ton of cards. Nettle Sentinel is half a mana on its own. If Chris hits another Nettle Sentinel, every green spell generates a green mana at this point. And so let's spin the wheel. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Chris has got all his pieces here. He's just going to sort of put more juice into it with his card draw spells here.
I think, is Chris going to... No, Chris is not going to wind... He's going to Winding Way, not Lead the Stampede.
I think that makes sense. Just spend a little bit less mana first.
Hits 3 cards.
3 sort of dorky elves.
Doesn't matter. You're going to get a huge... you're going to make a huge Elvish Vanguard here. It's going to be 6 power by the end of this turn.
Yeah, and that 6/7 creature is going to be able to just start attacking Evan in the face. Can he even deploy the Lead the Stampede this turn as well?
If he wanted to,
he can't play it here.
He can. He can absolutely do that. I think you attack.
Looks like he's not going to.
I think you do it.
He's just going to attack first? Okay.
Yeah. I think you do it. You have it. Go for it.
Yeah, it seems pretty good.
This is turn 4. Chris has... He drew 4 cards off the Lead the Stampede.
Yeah,
that was gross.
Good. So Evan's drawing another card here.
It's an Ash Barrens. So what can Evan do here? Evan has to deploy blockers at this point, right?
He has to, or else he will die to this board, right? I'm not really sure what Evan's hoping for. He doesn't have enough lands to Skred the 6/7. He is playing Ash Barrens, which is not really going to get him closer. So he's going to need like an O-ring or something to get him out of this?
I don't think that's going to be enough. An O-ring might handle the Vanguard, but at that point, Evan is just going to be so down on resources. This is what Elves does.
Yeah, realistically, he needs like, I don't know, like an O-ring for the armor, and then like a lot of electricities, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a pretty specific sequence of cards right there.
Yeah.
Well, there's one part. There's the electricity.
Okay. So, let's see. The thing is that this next turn from Chris Van Meter, oh gosh, another Timberwatch off the top. It's just going to put up such a scary board. So the Timberwatch is going to have 3 toughness here, which is just very hard to kill.
Every Lys Alana Huntmaster will make half a mana as well for each elf you cast. So we're going to see a huge Vanguard plus a whole lot of elves very quickly. So yeah, here comes the Huntmaster 1. Grows Vanguard. Here comes Elvish Mystic, which will...
He's got to go Huntmaster 2, right?
Do you go Huntmaster? Oh, you can go Huntmaster 2? You can. This is going off. This is what Elves going off looks like without a Priest of Titania.
Yeah, this is a lot of stuff.
This is a lot of power and toughness.
Yeah.
And that is an 8/9 Vanguard right now, and it's just going to get bigger.
9, 10, it's like counting with Elvish Vanguard. It just gets bigger and bigger. Now he gets 2 bigger or 3 bigger for each elf that...
For each elf, yeah.
Chris plays. I think Chris is going to be able to just send all of his elves this turn. Evan is going to be...
He's only going to have a few without Summoning Sickness. I think he's going to get in for at least 2.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
1, 2. Yeah, he can cast both these Timberwatch Elves this turn. And that means Evan has to race to find enough Swirling Sandstorm and enough cards to put into the graveyard to cast Swirling Sandstorm.
Swirling Sandstorm. Yeah, that's a good out here for him.
But he doesn't have Threshold. There's no way for him to get to... Yeah, and Evan saw the writing on the wall, and that's it.
There it is. Too much.
Yeah, that was kind of the ideal elf hand. That was pretty disgusting, all things considered. What do you think of that match?
It was a good match. It was very back and forth. Both decks sort of got to do what they're trying to do.
And up next, you're playing against your nemesis, Boggles. How do you feel about that?
I think Boggles is actually a pretty decent matchup for my deck. I've played against it a couple times in leagues, so yeah. I'm not that scared. I think I have like a lot of ways to interact with the Boggles.
Yeah,
especially with the Disenchants post board.
Also, Temporal Spring does hit auras pretty well.
Yeah, and they're just like pretty easy to lock out if I can get if I can get the things up, like Memory Lapse, Temporal Spring.
Okay, well, when we get back, it's going to be, I believe, Mike and Evan in the booth. Joseph's going to be battling Kendra. We'll be back in a few minutes. We'll see you then.
See ya.